Hello, crafty friends. Good evening. It looks like maybe good morning. I see somebody's tuning in from Germany. Welcome. I am so glad that you are here. So tonight's live stream is all about OLO markers. And if you didn't know it, my name is Alicia, but as always, you can call me Crafty Owl. I love that everybody is already over there chatting, saying where you're from. Welcome. If you are joining us, please let us know where you're watching. And if you are watching the replay, let us know where you're watching from as well down in that comment section and put hashtag replay so I know that you were here. I do have a little poll going in the chat. What do you know about OLO markers? Do you have them and use them? Have you heard of them? Have you never heard of them? After tonight, you and I, we might not be pros, but we're going to be a little bit better. Let me know too in the chat if you're going to be coloring along with us tonight with your markers, or if you're just hanging out and watching. And guys, I think, are we ready? Without further ado, I think that I should introduce the special guest, the star of tonight's show. If you've watched my Stamp Joy vlogs in the past, you've definitely seen her because she has been there the last couple years demonstrating OLO markers. And she is my daughter's coloring idol. Please help me welcome Lori Craig. Welcome, Lori.
Hello. Thank you.
Hello.
What a sweet welcome. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. I know my chat probably is. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of get into the marker stuff?
Yeah, sure. I'm a full-time crafter. I work full-time in the paper craft industry and the fine art industry. I'm the sales manager for Global Creative Inc., which is the manufacturer and distributor of OLO Marker. And we distribute a couple of other products too. So I do that, and I do some design team work, as you said, for Tailored Expressions. I've been a longtime paper crafter. I started paper crafting in probably 1999, 1998-ish. And I scrapbooked for a little bit and immediately went into card making because I liked the instant results of a 3-hour card. And I've been paper crafting ever since. So I love, and I think the thing, Alicia, that keeps me crafting is the people. You know, you and I have met at Stamp Joy through online groups, retreats, events. It's the friends that I've made that kind of keep me crafting. And I love paper craft.
Well, we love you. Do you want to let us know where we can maybe find you online?
Yes, I am on Instagram, and my handle is Wheatfield Designs. I am a Kansas native, so I live in the Midwest, and I do post fairly regularly. You're in the Midwest too, aren't you? In Nebraska?
Yep, Nebraska. Yep.
My daughter lives in Nebraska, so anyway, but I am on Instagram under Wheatfield Designs, and I post there a couple of times a week, and I love stories, so I try to share often in my stories. But
awesome. Well, I have Lori's Instagram, of course, linked down in the description box below. Now, she did let me know earlier today that she does have a YouTube channel, but she doesn't really post there often. I did go check it out and subscribe. So you know what? Maybe if you guys go subscribe to her, maybe she'll make us some coloring videos. So make sure to do that. But definitely follow her on Instagram for inspiration each week. Also down in that description box, I have all of the OLO marker links, so you can shop there. I know that Spellbinder sells them, Tailored Expression sells them, so I do have some links. And hopefully after the little get together tonight, you'll want to get some for yourself.
Absolutely.
I did want to point out, it was scrolling earlier, but you know, as we're kind of chit-chatting and Lori's going to try to teach me how to color, we might get a little busy. Okay, so if you have a question that she's maybe not answering that you want to know, please type question in all caps in front of your comment. That way when I do get the chance to look up, then those are going to be the first ones I see, and we'll try to get those answered. Now, Lori, do you want to go ahead and go overhead as you talk to the marker about the markers, or do you kind of want to start out just telling us about the brand? Which do you prefer?
It's up to you. Why don't we just go overhead and then I can kind of be set up and talk through it? And
Well, then while you're getting that change, I'll take you off camera and I'm going to talk about some stuff here on my desk. All right.
fantastic. Fantastic.
All
See you
right.
soon.
See you soon. All right, guys. So I'm going to go to my overhead because I want to kind of show you how I keep my OLO markers. These, and Lori will talk about this, but these are like half markers and you can put them together with connectors. But for me, I like to be able to see all the colors I have. And then if I'm going to color with a lot of them, I will go ahead and use a connector and put the light and dark together. But most of the time they are sitting in here. Now, these at the top were, I think, the first 128. We'll have to ask Lori how many there were. And they recently, guys, came out with 32 new colors. Now, these here at the top, purchase, well, they were a Christmas gift, but purchase with my own money. These at the bottom, OLO did send me to try out. So just so you know, full disclosure there, the new colors I did get gifted to me. But I think you all already know that I love OLO. When I do color, it's definitely with these. So I want to show you a little bit more about my holder. They are sitting in like just a clear fridge bin. And then inside of these is 4 little containers that have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 40 slots. And what I love about these is, guys, look at that. They are not even falling out. So I do have both of these products listed below. I just got them off Amazon. Now the holders at the bottom, they don't quite sit flat. They're kind of at an angle, if you can see there, kind of like bleachers. And I really like that. But this just sits in my IKEA shelf, and I pull it out when I'm getting ready to color. So let me go ahead. You know what? Let's go ahead and end this poll and see how we're doing here. Who knows about OLO? So 51% of you have heard of them. 25% say they're brand new to you, and 23% own them. So that is awesome to know. Yeah, so we'll kind of learn along together. Now, Lori has taught me before, and I know the basics, but every time I wish she was here to retell me. Speaking of that, Lori, are you ready to come back on stage? Oh, you know what? You're twisted, Lori. Do you want to try it again? All right, so we'll get her on in a minute. We did a tech test earlier today, and my audio was all like working good. I could hear everything. She could hear me. And you guys, we came on tonight, and my headphones did not work. So you know what? We all know technical difficulties, right? All right, she is all ready. Let's go ahead and bring her back on. All right, Lori, we are ready to hear all about OLO.
Fantastic. Can you hear me well? And
I can hear you. Let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm sure they can as well.
Okay, fantastic. Let me see if I can kind of get myself pulled up there. So I do work for OLO, and OLO has been on the market about 2 years, 2.5 years maybe. It is a high quality alcohol marker. It is produced in Japan, which the Japanese are known for they're just known for their quality, their commitment to quality, and the beautiful product that they manufacture. So that's one of the things that I always try and share with people when I am talking about OLO. So it is made in 160 colors. As we just talked about a few minutes ago, we had 32 new colors that released about a month ago. They started shipping. And one of the things that was neat is, as we were looking to extend our color range, we were really listening to feedback from customers. And customers kept saying, we want more greens, we want more pinks, more purples, and we need skin tones. So that kind of drove the bus, so to speak, on the 32 new colors that became available last month. So lots of fun. There are some things about OLO that make it unique to alcohol marker, for alcohol marker coloring. And so I'll kind of start with what you can see. This is an OLO marker, and this is a full OLO marker in this half body. It is black. When I take the cap off, it has a beautiful brush nib. So it has a very fine point that allows you to get into small corners, but it also has a sweeping brush that allows you to cover a large part of the paper all at one time. There is the same amount of ink in this half cartridge as you would find in any comparable brand of high quality alcohol markers. So this is a full marker's worth of ink. It retails for $4.10 at most of our retail partners. And then you have a full color's worth of ink, half the space. So when people are first introduced to it, they say, well, what am I going to do with half the space? Well, here's what you're going to do. You pick out two markers. In my case, I have a black-bodied brush marker and I have a gray-bodied chisel. I use the chisels a lot in my work, and they are the same color, R0.4. I'm going to put them together on one connector ring. Now, if you are a paper crafter or a hand lettering artist and you say, you know what, I only use the chisel, well, you can purchase the markers in just the chisel. If you're someone who uses only a brush marker, you can purchase just the brush. And so a lot of people choose to put their markers together in blending pairs. So they may have an R0.4 on one end, and then they may join that with an R0.3. So as they're working back and forth to blend colors, they instantly have colors that blend well together on either end of the connector ring. So makes it really compact for people. It's a lot less to kind of keep up with and to store, and it helps people understand how to use their markers. So I think that is what people are really drawn to, that space-saving idea of a full marker's worth of ink in a half marker, and the fact that you can join them together. But let me show you what you can't see on the inside. A traditional marker, if you would break it open, pull it open, on the inside it would have a felt tube or a felt wadding inside that regulates the ink from the inside of the marker to the nib. OLO is a free ink technology. And so I think that you can see here where the ink is just floating and suspended in there. There's no felt wadding inside OLO. And what that does is it allows for a continuous feed of ink from the marker body to the nib. So you get beautiful coloring, very smooth, very nice application of color from the nib to the paper. Let me flip this around so you can see a little bit darker example. Okay. But that ink is just continuously flowing from the barrel of the marker to the nib. So that is one of the benefits to the free flow ink technology that sets OLO apart. This is a patented technology and process, and it is different from any other alcohol marker. The other thing that this allows, it allows for you to consume about 90% of the ink that is inside the marker. In a traditional marker, that felt barrel, or the felt inside the barrel, that would always hold about 25 to 30% of the ink. So with OLO, you are able to use almost all of the ink that's inside the barrel. So it makes it a very, it's affordable to start with, and then it's very efficient when you get ready to use it. So you can use all of the ink that you're purchasing. So, Alicia, are you still with me too? So, one of the things that people often ask about is the color numbering system and how they choose colors. How do I pick colors. There's, 128 colors. How do I know that I'm going to get things that go together and that I'm going to be able to use them when I am in my own personal craft room? And so let me share a little bit about the color numbering system for OLO, and this will help you a lot. When you look at the markers, you'll see that every marker has a numbering system that has a letter, and then it has a series of numbers that fall behind it. So let's just take these R's that I started out with as an example. This is R0.3 and R0.4. This first letter, it's always going to be a letter first. This tells me what color family this marker is in. So in this case, R stands for red. That's very easy to comprehend. The first number, this tells me what the hue of the marker is. This tells me where this marker falls in the color in the red color family. So 0 tells me that this is a very pure hue. This is just bright, pure red, easily identified. Some people might call it a Christmas red, true red. The last number tells me how light or how dark the marker is. So this is R0.4. Okay. If I have the R0.3, so here's R0.4. This is the color that we are looking at. R0.3 is extremely similar. It's still in the red family. The hue number is 0, but the 3 is a little bit lighter. So it's going to be a little bit lighter shade than that R0.3. If I grabbed R0.6, the R and the 0 would be the same, but it's going to be a much darker red, light to dark. So this is the 0.3, R0.4, and R0.6. Now the colors have really fun names. This R0.6 is cranberry, the R0.3 is coral, the R0.4 is red grapefruit. So they have really fun names to them, but most often when you are looking for markers that go together, you're going to be referring to this numbering system. So what I like to do when I pick markers that I think to know that they will blend well together is I pick markers that the letter and the first number are the same, R0, R0, R0. And then I vary that last number, the 3, the 4, the 6. And that's what's going to allow me to do a nice blend from light to dark when I get ready to color an image.
Awesome. And sorry, Lori, earlier I was talking. I was trying to wait for you to get to a good stopping point, and I was on mute. Imagine that. I did have some questions, but first of all, sure. I love that you explained that numbering. I have a question. So I usually only work with 2 colors. How many would you blend? Would you use all 3 of those if you wanted a red area, or how many do you usually blend for color?
I generally will work with 2 to 3. It all depends on how large your image is. So you might have an image or how deep your shadows are going to be. So there are some people that might blend with 7 different colors, that run the range. But most frequently in paper crafting, I'm usually working with 2 to 3 colors.
Okay, so I do have a few questions, which just so everybody in the chat knows, Nightbot is an automated system I set up ahead of time, and it will just automatically put those messages in for me so I don't have to do it. First question, Vamos Mercantile would like to know, everyone I know that uses OLO really wants OLO to come out with fine tip. Any chance that is happening?
Okay, can you repeat that for me, Alicia? Yep. My headphone went in and out.
Yep. Basically, they've heard their friends that use OLOs would like fine tips. Is there any chance those will be coming?
Sure. We are working on a bullet nib, so I don't have a date to tell you, but we are working that.
Fantastic. And
So,
Judy wants to know, how easy are they to use? Oh, they seem small. How easy are they to use for people with dexterity issues? And I pulled out a handle, Lori. I don't know if you want to talk about how that works.
sure, I have a handle, so let me show you that too. They are not necessarily small. I mean, when you purchase it, you're purchasing them in a half marker, but then you're going to join that. And let me see let me give you how long they are. So they are, when you have two together, they are just under 6.5 inches. And the marker top itself is just under, the marker body is about a 1/2 inch diameter. So it's pretty substantial to hold in your hand. Now, some people do like the handle that was mentioned, and this one has a connector ring on it, but this is just an empty handle, and it looks like the end of a paintbrush. It can screw onto the connector ring just like you would attach another marker, but then you have a full longer paintbrush handle that you can use to hold it. This with the handle is about 7.5 inches.
Okay.
7
and I know,
3/8.
Judy, whenever I use a single marker, like if I'm going to use the 0 to do cleanup, I do put the handle on. I do find it's easy for me. I do like them connected, just not when I store them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Joyce would like to know, can you show the refill and how, well, I don't know that she'll do the second part, but I bet she can show the refill. Show the refill and how it connects to the brush. Oh, and how to connect the brush with the connector ring.
Yeah, let me reach into my bag of tricks. I'm pretty sure I have a refill in here. Give me just a second. I hope I have a refill. Let's see.
The way
If
I understand
not,
it, isn't it pretty much everything but the brush or but the nib?
yes, it is everything except for the nib and the cap. So
Okay.
let's see here. Oh, here's one. Okay, this is a 0. So this is white, which a color, the white is what we call our 0. And that is, some people would call this a colorless blender. And the 0 indicates its artistic value. So there's 0 hue and there's 0 light and there's no color family. So that's where the name 0 comes from. This is a 0 marker. This has a chisel nib on it. And this is a 0 refill. And so when you purchase the refill cartridge, it's going to come to you just like this. It has a little cap stopper on it and no nib and no cap. So there are some artists who like to do a marker on one end and a refill on the other. What they feel like is everything, now this whole marker is dedicated to one color, and they have almost a full length of marker to hang on to. So if you like markers that are all one color, top to bottom, that might be an option for you. You have the full length you have the full width to hang on to, you have the full length of the pen, and when your marker is ready to refill, you would simply take your cap off. You have your nib here. You would take the cap off of the refill. You would move the nib and then move your cap, and you're ready to go.
I like that. I like that. I have a question, not from them. How does the price of the refill compare to the first brush that you buy or the first pen that you buy, the marker?
Sure. The first marker that you buy is going to be about $4.10. The refill is going to be about $2.39. Okay. So the thing that's awesome about the refill mechanism or the refill process for this particular brand is that you're only buying the ink that you need at the time that you need it. You don't have to pour it. You don't have to drip it. You don't have to clean up any mess. And you don't have to store any kind of a refill vial. So that's a great question.
And this is another one, but it is a very good question. Are there refills available now for every color?
Yes, refills for every color. So
all right. I do have a question from my friend Danny, but maybe we should go ahead and start coloring, and then maybe you can kind of talk about that. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll tell you kind of what she wants to know. She wants to know, is there a learning curve for someone who has used another brand of alcohol markers for over 10 years?
Well, you are in luck because it's a high quality alcohol ink that's in there. And so it is going to play very well with other markers that you may have on your collection. So one of the things that I recommend is if you're, looking to expand or wanting to try it, I would look at our color range, and I would look in the purples and pinks. I would come down to the yellows, and to all of our skin tones are in the orange or the orange red family. So on the color wheel, that's where they would fall naturally. And so I would look in those couple of places. We have some beautiful colors that you might not find in other ranges. And then you're able to kind of work those in and get a feel for them. For the most part, it's going to be very easy for you if you are used to coloring with other brands of alcohol markers. One of the things that is different for me with OLO, I taught alcohol marker coloring for many years. At one time, I traveled around the country about once a month and would teach workshops with alcohol marker coloring. So one of the things that is different for me is the ink flows just a little bit differently out of OLO. And so the way that you blend alcohol ink is when you have that moisture, when the ink blends when it's wet. And this ink is a continuous feed flow. So it flows just a little bit differently and a little bit faster. And so I start with my dark color. That's not how I traditionally colored all of my paper craft loving life. It used to be that I would start with a light color to kind of prep the paper, and then I would bring in my dark color, and then I would come back with a light. And I don't have to do that with these. So I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. Here I'm going to start with RV17, RV15, and RV13. I'm going to reserve the 17 since that's the darkest color. And I've kind of picked these.
Oh, sorry. We must have ESP because I seriously put together RV 1.3, 1.5, and then YG 1.2 and 1.4.
Okay. Well, listen, I am honored to share a crafty brain with you. So, but yeah, so I'll just work kind of back and forth with the RV 1.5 and 1.3. Now, the image that I'm going to be coloring is this Baroque bouquet. This is a Tailored Expressions image. So I just thought I would play with that a little bit. And I'm using a really light ink, but that's because I wanted you to be able to see the color. Can we talk about stamping ink for just a minute?
Please do. I'm sure they'll want to know about ink and paper probably.
Okay. So for stamping, for black, I use a premium hybrid ink. There are a lot of your favorite companies have what they call a premium hybrid black or a hybrid black ink. This is going to work for your alcohol markers. And most often, they say right on the back that it is good for alcohol marker coloring. Some of them do, or in the description when you're looking to purchase it. So I like Tailored Expressions Oreo. I know that My Favorite Things has a pad like that. Lawn Fawn, Gina K. So hybrid black is what I use a lot. I'm also, this hybrid Sea Salt is a Tailored Expressions ink. And I love this one because it's very light, so I can see the image that I've stamped on the paper, but it lets my marker work really take center stage. It becomes like no line coloring when you're working with it.
I actually thought you had your cardstock flipped over. I'm glad that you let us know that. I thought it was like light through the back.
Yeah. So one of the things that I would say is different when I use OLO is this is a sealed ink system, meaning this is a full marker within this small cartridge, and the back end is completely sealed. There's no way for you to take a lid off, pull a nib out, or anything to add ink or take ink from it. So when I color, I like to take my caps off of the two colors that I'm using at the same time, and I leave those caps off while I'm working. And what that does is it eliminates excess pull of ink from the marker through the nib, because this cap is really tight. You have a long shelf life on these markers. It's designed to keep your nib completely protected and to keep your marker from drying out when you're not using it. So if you can imagine like a child's cap gun, if you can remember back when you used to buy these guns that had a cork in them, and you would prime it, you would you'd pull it in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, and pretty soon the pressure would build up and that cork would shoot out the top. If you are constantly, it would be on a string. I mean, I'm kind of older, so, but that's kind of the analogy that I think of, because if I was pulling, pushing,
Mm-hmm.
it would wick extra ink out. So when I'm coloring, I just leave the caps off of the markers that I'm working with, and I start with my dark, and I just flick in a little bit of the dark color, and then I come back in with my light, and I just draw that right across my paper.
Now, when you come back in with the light, do you start down where you started the dark, or do you kind of start at the end where the flicks end, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I kind of start a little bit deeper than where my flicks end, because I'm bringing that out, and I'm also practicing a really light hand. So I kind of go back to where the darker color was, and then I draw it out over the dark into the white space.
All right.
That's something I think that's one of the reasons that it's really important to practice, because I'm pretty heavy-handed, and so I have to practice that. I like to think of it as holding that marker like I'm just drawing a feather. I'm laying a feather across that paper. I'm not really, coloring, hard pressed into the paper. I'm more just dusting the paper with the marker. So
now, if the nibs, somebody asked, do you have replacement nibs? Like if you
yes.
find yourself pressing too hard, like
Yep.
I do.
Yep. So the nib is going to take a whole lot of. It's pretty sturdy, but if you need to replace the nib, or maybe you run into a foreign substance and your nib gets dirty, yes, there are replacement nibs available. They're in packs of 10 for the 5 for the brush and 10 for the chisel. Okay. So, yeah.
And I can't leave white space. How do you leave white space? Like I have a real problem with that.
Well, I know, but I do leave white space, because when I'm going out to my highlight, it's much easier if I've left it white than to try and come back again and remove it. Does that make sense?
So now is highlighting something you're going to show us, or just when you leave the white space, that is your highlighting?
So like here, let's say on this petal, see how I have my RV 1.5, and then I've drawn that out to the 1.3. Now I've picked up the RV 1.1. And so I will come back over this and I will draw this out. Now this is completely dry, so it's not going to, remember the blending happens when your paper is wet. So I'm not going to get that really pretty soft feather blend now on this unless I work it back and forth again. But I try and leave white space from the beginning, because then I can come back over it with my lightest color and get a really soft blend that way.
And do you go over the whole petal with that lightest color, or just from the end out?
I try and go just at that point then from the end out. Yep.
Okay.
Because that
I'm
lighter
trying
color,
it.
yeah, the lighter color, it can act a little bit like a zero or a bleach,
Okay.
for lack of a better word. So I try and not go too far into my petal. Does that make sense?
That worked very nice. I just tried that for the first time.
Awesome.
Now the last number, what is the biggest number difference you would recommend? Like, if you're only going to use 2 colors, what's the biggest difference in that last number do you recommend? Because I think I run into that issue sometimes, trying to go too far out.
Yep, I think that's a great question. If you are brand new to alcohol marker coloring, I would probably try and stick with colors that are right next to each other. So like this 1.3, 1.5, or 1.1 and 1.3 if you're only going to buy 2. And the other thing that I think, one of the most common things for people that are just starting out, is you're drawn to these bright, beautiful colors, but those bright, beautiful colors require a bigger dye particle, right, to make the color, and they can be a little bit harder to blend out. So I like to say, pick the color that you really are drawn to, and then your blending partner gets something that is lighter to blend into.
Okay.
So that is kind of helpful when you're getting started. It'll help you blend easier.
I had talked to you earlier about my heavy hand, and I asked about card stocks and maybe what I should use. Do you want to tell us a little about what you use and prefer?
Sure. So there are a couple of things that I use. It kind of depends on what I'm working on and what look that I want. And I have some examples to show you for that. So what I'm working on tonight is the Xpress blending card, which is a very bright white. It's very bright white. It's extremely smooth. So when I feel it, there's no tooth. It's very flat. And the thing that I like about it is that the colors blend beautifully, and it holds ink where I put it on the paper. So it does not, if you're heavy-handed, I think you might like this paper a lot, because it does not have a tendency to bleed outside the lines as you're applying your ink to the paper. So that's the Xpress blending card.
Okay.
A second paper that I use is Nina Classic Crest Solar White. And this card stock is a beautiful creamy white color. And when you touch it, it feels softer. It feels maybe more like a little bit more like cloth. It's not at all like a watercolor. It's not that soft, not like a watercolor paper, but it's definitely got a softer feel than the Xpress. So I think you can even see the difference. Usually the Xpress will have a sheen to it because it's so smooth, whereas the Nina does not. But I get a much softer color when I use the Nina. I have to be careful because the color, sometimes I get a little bit of ink spread. But kind of here's 2 examples and the difference between using the 2 card stocks.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So this is the Xpress, and then this would be the Nina. So you can see how bold. And the Sending Hugs card, the reason I wanted to show your community this card is because I've colored all of these flowers with 1 marker. So the color is very vibrant. There's no blending at all. And it's very flat and smooth. And typically that's what draws people, that vibrant color, that's what draws people to alcohol. And then the blendability. So really, I say any skill level can make that work.
I do notice that, yes, even if you use a single color with these, I do notice it's always usually like a smooth color, which I couldn't always successfully do with other brands. But I have one more question. Dan,
Yeah.
oh, wait, or no, show us what you can show us what you want to, and then.
Yeah, I just had a couple more samples to show you. Sometimes
Okay.
people like to color people. And so I was just going to show you a couple of little people and some more flowers. So these are some of my favorite things images. So
love them. Danny would like to know. Okay. Do the nibs get sticky with the darker pigments? Drives her crazy with the markers she uses now.
Not. I have not noticed that, Danny. One of the things that happens with that is on the darker colors. The reason you see it on darker colors is because the dye particle to make that color is much larger than the dye particle, that maybe to make the almost white, the lighter one. So sometimes as that alcohol starts evaporating, then you're left with those dye particles on your nib. But I have not noticed that myself. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I have not noticed that.
Thank you. Thank you. I have another question now. So I've left these caps off this entire time. Now, is there a limit? Like, should I have already put these caps back on, or am I okay to sit here and talk with you? And
I think you're okay as long as you are using them, because what you want is you want to be drawing that ink through the nib and have that moisture kind of come through. So you're fine for the time that we've been sitting here talking and working. And so
I just didn't want them to dry out,
No. And if you notice that, just take your marker to the side of your paper and run it off on the side of your paper. So, Now, obviously, this would take me, we're not going to finish these images tonight, you and I, right?
No. Well, mine's tiny. I could maybe, all I have left now are the leaves, but yes, I don't expect you to finish that bouquet.
Yeah, I have a card with that image. Let me see. I brought out a lot of different things to share and show.
Please.
But I have a card. This is one that Presley and I did in that class back last fall.
Yes.
With that image. Yeah. So no, this would take me a while, this big floral bouquet. It would take me a while because I would come back and I would fiddle with it a little bit. And that's one of the fun things about alcohol marker coloring. You can come back and play with your colors over and over again, because once you add some moisture to them with your ink, with your color, it's going to start loosening that dye back up and let you come back at it. Let me see. I was going to maybe work on the center so you can see how I might approach the center of this flower.
Okay.
So these, I've kind of switched to some browns. This is O4.3 and O4.6. And
I will switch to my greens while you do your browns.
Okay. Yeah. So if you looked at this, you would think, oh, the center is so messy here where this floral center is. But I'm just going to drop in my lighter 4.3 and then come back in and drop in some of the darker 4.6 to give myself that flower center. So.
Now, do you only use the flicking when you're doing like flowers, or do you do that like if you're coloring people too?
If I want a smooth blend, I'm pretty much flicking all the time, because I think that's what gives you that smooth look to it, is the flicking of that brush, right? So I saw a petal that I forgot to get into, and I would smooth these out a lot. Maybe I'll finish this and get it posted.
Oh, yes. And don't forget that Lori's links are in the description box, so go follow her.
So,
And Susan would like to know, if getting a full set of OLOs is not possible, how many color families would you recommend starting out with?
Oh, that's a great question.
That is.
So what I think is it's Susan, right? That had the
Yep.
question?
Mm-hmm.
I think what I might do is look in each one of the color families. I'm a big proponent of Roy G. Biv. I love, having a little bit of everything. And that actually is a great lead into something that we should have talked about when we talked about the color numbering system, is how to choose if you can only pick a few things. So if I don't know what your budget is, so I'm just kind of give you some guidelines to how many ever things you can add. If you can add them in twos, I would definitely recommend that you try and pick two from each of the color families when you buy them. But if you are for instance, drawn to these R1s or these R0s, if you're going to go to greens or blues or oranges, I would try and stick with markers where if you say you're going to pick the R0s, so maybe you pick up R02 and R03 or R03 and R04. If you want to get greens or yellows or oranges or blues that will complement these R's well, I would look for things in those color families that also start with a 0 or a 1, maybe a 2. So if you have R02 and R04, come down here to the greens and maybe you add in the YG1s. See how the first number is a 1 here and the first number is a 0 here. So those colors are they're gonna play well together when you look at your image. And then your image will be cohesive. Same thing on the blues. If you get maybe the R0s, then maybe you pick up the blue zeros, the B zeros to add to it. Now there's not zeros in the YGs, but there are zeros in the G01 and G04. So I like to keep the first number close, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you really like the R5s, then maybe when you're adding your greens, you want something that is a little bit heavier. And so maybe you go to the YG8s, and those reds and greens kind of play well together.
That was a great explanation and a great question. Thank you, Susan. I did want to mention, I don't know if on OLO's website, but here is a set you can buy at Tailored Expressions, and it's called Taylor's Favorite Rainbow, I think. So she went through and picked out some colors that go together. So you might want to check that out. She has kind of a bright rainbow and then a more vintage one, but this might be a good starter because you have those basic colors and maybe just add some flesh tones and neutrals. So.
Yes, that's a great idea. She's done a lot of legwork on her sets to present things that work really well together. So great tip.
Now, if my flower, I love the leaves because they're little, but I think my flowers, you can see too much of the feathering. Is that why you're going back in over it just to
Yes.
resaturate it? And okay.
Yeah, I might sometimes pick up my lightest color and go right back over the top. So it is hard for me sometimes when I'm trying to talk and chew gum at the same time. So the other thing about flower petals is I try to leave a little bit of striation in those. I don't usually try to blend out all of my lines, because if I went outside and picked something up out of the yard right now, it would it would have lines in it. So So
I guess so when I'm coloring people though, I probably wouldn't want those lines. So then I could just go back over it.
Yep. I would just pick up a color that's a little bit lighter and then see if you can go back over it and soften those up. So especially with people, that's a great tip. So now
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I picked up this R1.7, a little bit darker. And so this kind of just shows you how it brings the center of that flower in. Obviously, I've got a lot of work left to do, but I'm just demonstrating how you can bring in multiple colors to get that depth. You were going to ask me something.
Yes, and then I saw we had another question. What was I going to ask? Oh, well, I'll ask Danny's question again. Sorry, it might come back up. Danny says she has one more question. Since these are so popular, are they restocked often? I seem to be hitting the shops when they are out of stock.
Oh, I know. And I wish it wasn't that way, Danny. We are expecting a really nice restock in just a week or two. So just keep your eyes peeled at your sign up for notifications at your favorite retailer, you know, your stores. And we've been shipping a lot because the new colors went out. We've been shipping a ton over the last few weeks. So I would just check your favorite retailer, let them know you're looking, sign up for restock notifications if they happen to be out of stock. But the help is on the way.
Well, and I know that I have a local, Danny, you and I, just today, our local scrapbook store, which it was busy scrapping. Now it's Scrapbook Haven. They just did like a reel or a story showing their brand new OLOs. So, you know, if you have a local scrapbook store near you, go there, you know, spend some money because they're going away. If we don't go there and spend our money, they won't be there. So,
and we do have a store locator too on the OLO Marker website. If you go to olomarker.com and look at resources, you'll need to scroll to the bottom. But there's a resources section, and there's also a store locator, so you can look at your state. And I'm so glad you said that, because it is just vital that we support our stores in the industry. You know, they invest a lot to have product on the shelves, product education, information. And so definitely let them know that you're looking, and ask them to let you know when their stock comes back in.
And I remembered my question, Lori.
Okay.
So one of the hardest things I find is finding out like color combinations that work well together. Like I would really like to know some different skin tones so I could have a variety. Do you guys have a resource, or do you know of a creator who has used OLO and would be providing those numbers to do stuff like that to share with people?
Yeah, somebody that I like, that I personally follow, who uses a lot of OLO is Jen Gross.
Okay.
And she is I know she's on Instagram. She has an awesome skin tone chart that she's put together. Now, she did that before the new colors came out, which is, you know, she's going to add to it, I'm sure. But that's an awesome resource too. And then sometimes I just sit and mess around at my desk and, you know, find combinations that work for me. You know, I shared with you like the traditional blending method, but you definitely can work outside of those natural blending families, especially in the O's and the ORs, to get some really pretty skin tones.
Yeah, because like in the past, I mean, there are some alcohol markers that, like OLO, they number them so they make sense, right? Mm-hmm. But then there are some other sets that I've bought and I can't use them because I don't know what markers to put together. So I really like to have help, at least with the numbering system on these. That's a big help for me.
Yeah. And one thing about the numbering system for OLO is, you know, most of the people that help, well, pretty much everybody that helped develop OLO has been in the alcohol marker business for a long time. And so the color numbering system was all laid out before the first markers were ever made. So like we just released these 32 new colors last month. The color numbering system for those 32 colors falls right in line and follows exactly the same hue and value that I explained at the beginning of the video. And whenever new colors are added, they'll always fall right in line. So it's easy for you to use and know what to pick out.
So do you know how many total OLOs there might eventually be if they've already kind of pre-planned? Or
yeah, well, when they land, there was like a possibility of like 1,500, but it won't ever be that
Oh,
much.
oh, wow.
So yeah, I mean that, because they were just like looking at the color wheel and like, what could we do? What could we do? I think you'll see OLO somewhere in the 250 range.
Okay. And right now we're at 160, right?
Right now we're at
colors.
160. So
Okay.
yeah. So fun stuff. Yeah. So one thing is, I just want to encourage people to kind of practice, if get a feel for how the marker feels in your hand, different strokes that you might, whether you need long, skinny strokes or fat, wide strokes, all of that kind of your image will dictate it. But I've been crafty, but I never felt artistic when I was growing up, if that makes any sense.
Definitely
but
does.
One thing that alcohol markers taught me is that everyone practices. if you are, if it's a skill you can hone and you can train yourself. So train your hand and your mind and all that. You just got to pick it up and give it some practice.
My sister has a question. Of course, you've met my sister, Lisa. She would like to know I think she wants to know if you're going to be at Stamp Joy again this year.
I think so. And isn't the registration next week?
It is. I was actually going to talk about that. So, yes, registration is next week. So if you're anywhere, I mean, people fly in, but if you're anywhere within driving distance of like the Des Moines, Iowa area, oh my gosh, I think you should sign up. Lori will be there. I'll be there. My sister will be there. And yeah, the early bird registration starts next Tuesday. And if you're not already on the email list, down in the description box, I have a link to the page to sign up for the email list. And I also have links to my vlogs about it from a couple years. So you can kind of see what happens there. But it's loads of fun. Like, please join us.
And the thing is I've done a lot of events through the years, and it's no secret, anybody that follows me or meets me, I've been a TE fan from the very, very beginning. I have, but that team, their events are so good, and they do such a good job of kidding things. People come. There are people who come that don't even come with a friend. They just come by themselves, and they love it. They love it. They have such a good time because everybody is so warm and so it's so well laid out. So
definitely. Yeah, exactly. You can meet your crafty idols. But yes, definitely. There are lots of people that go there by themselves and then leave with lots of new friends.
Yeah,
so
for sure. So
if you are going to Stamp Joy, if you are going to Stamp Joy, let us know over in the chat. Just scream out Stamp Joy if you want to. And I think, Lori, what do you think if we kind of wrap up, like get final questions, and then we have a surprise for our crafty viewers? Is there any last thing that you like have to want to get out there, want to share?
No, I don't think I don't think so. If there are any last minute questions, my main thing is let's see. Question. Will I be at Stamp Joy? Yes.
Yeah, I think she got a little happy with the caps lock and not spell check. There's all caps lock, no spell check on that comment, but I think we translated it okay.
Yeah, I think so too. So no, I think as long as, my main thing was just being able to answer questions for your community. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for coming. This was tons of fun. I feel starstruck being live with you, I have to say.
No, you just have this awesome community, and I thank you for having me. I'm the one that's starstruck, girl.
I do think I have some of the best viewers, subscribers out there. I would agree with that. So,
Yeah.
Well, if you want to, do you want to go ahead? I'll remove you and you can change your camera and we can see if there are any final questions that you can answer face forward, and then we'll do our exciting stuff. Oh, while you're doing that, I'm going to show what stamp I use, but I will see you in a little bit, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. All right, guys, so you saw me coloring with it, and I will tell you that going back over with that light color really did help smooth those flowers out for me, so I would suggest that. But the stamp that I used today, this was actually an exclusive. Like I don't think you'll ever be able to buy this from like Tailored Expressions. This was actually designed by Lori, and we got it at last year's Stamp Joy when they had little mini classes from some different companies. So there was like OLO Marker, Brutus Monroe, and so that's the flower I stamped with. It did come with the die and a little sentiment. And if you saw earlier that Lori showed a card that we made in that class with that. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can flip back up to the top, change my camera. And it looks like we did lose Lori for just a minute, so hopefully she'll be able to get connected back on. There, I heard something. But welcome. If this is your first time seeing my face tonight, welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you are here. Make sure to leave Lori lots of love. Hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to her on Instagram. Subscribe to Olo's channel. Do all the things. I've been sharing links in the chat, and I have links down below, which I guess now you see all my friendship bracelets. My daughter and I have been making those. Okay. Lori, are you ready to come back on? All right, here comes Lori again. Oh, maybe not. No, wrong. I didn't add you to stage before I hit my button. So welcome back.
Hey,
I was
I'm
just telling
in awe of the technical stuff. I could not do that. So
you should see this fun little contraption I have. It's just a whole bunch of buttons, but I wasn't quite ready. I did just tell them about the stamp set. Now you designed this, right?
I actually did not design that one.
Oh,
I do have some stamps.
It says with Lori Craig. Okay.
Yeah, I do have some that I've illustrated for Taylor, but not that particular one. Okay. So
we still love it. We still love it.
She does a great job. So perfect.
Well, do you want to tell us your exciting giveaway, and then we'll do that, and I'll tell them about mine?
Sure. We're gonna give away a $25 OLO Marker gift certificate. So I think, is that the hashtag OLO Marker? Is that right?
Yes, I will pop that up. So guys, like I have a giveaway. I have a little giveaway for you. And then right before we went live, Lori's like, you know what? I'll do a gift card giveaway. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. So we have an extra special giveaway tonight, and we will give that one away first. Now, here in a minute, I'm going to pop, just like normal, I'm going to pop that hashtag up on the screen. And then if you would like to be entered to win, you're going to type that one time. How many times? One time in the chat box. You don't need to type it in 20 times because you will not get 20 entries. But if you type it and like you notice, oh no, it doesn't look like it does on screen, retype that, get your entry. Just please don't spam it on there. So if you would like to be entered to win the $25 gift certificate to OLO Marker, in the chat box, type hashtag OLO Marker, hashtag OLO MARKER. And I have a little timer set for a couple minutes, so you can get that in there. We'll make sure everybody who wants to gets to enter. And again, if you see you typed it wrong, go back in and retype that. While we're waiting for those OLO markers to come in, I will tell you about my giveaway. It's actually kind of maybe sponsored by my daughter. So she went with me to Stamp Joy last year for the second time. And because we each got one of the stamp and die sets at the class, the mini class that Lori taught, she is letting me give hers away. Now it is gently used, but it has been used one time, and I'll try to clean it up even better than it looks now. But once we figure out that gift certificate, then we will give this away. Now, one thing you do need to keep in mind, whoever wins the OLO Marker gift certificate cannot enter to win the stamp set, just so we can spread the love tonight.
Spread the love out.
Yep, spread it out. And then once we pick our winners, I will tell you how you're going to claim the prize. And it's very important that you claim it within 24 hours of the end of tonight's live. So if I were you, if you're a winner, you're going to go do it right away, which it's easy to claim. So I will tell you about that later. And Jody here, I just saw her comment pop up, said, how sweet of her. I think it's Presley and Lori on that one.
Yes, Presley is one of my favorite people that comes to stamp.
She was so sad she wasn't going to be here tonight. I know she would have came down and said hi, but she's out at the carnival or whatever.
Yeah. She's kind and excited and loves the same things I do.
Yes, she does. She definitely loves it. All right. Well, you guys could not hear that, but the timer went off for me. So I'm going to go make sure that our entries have slowed down. While you're waiting, if you could please go ahead. Guys, there are 47 of you on here right now, but only 27 thumbs up. Go ahead and give this video your stamp of approval. Share it with a crafty friend if you think that they would like to know about OLO markers. But I say let's go ahead. The numbers have stopped, so let's draw. Now, you might not see your name scroll here across the screen. It doesn't show everybody's name, but all of you are entered. And congratulations goes to Judy M. Congrats, Judy. I will write you down for the gift card. And yeah, you'll fill that out. And then I'll probably send Lori an email with your email address. Is that how that works?
Yes. So we'll need your email address, and then I can get that over to you. Fantastic. And it may not be tomorrow because my person that helps me with that is not going to be in tomorrow. So
yeah. All right, let's try this one more time. So for my stamp set, let's go ahead and do hashtag stamps. All right. So if you would like to win the stamp and die set from the mini class exclusive, right? Type in hashtag stamps, hashtag STAMPS. And I forgot to mention before, but it definitely has to look like it does on screen. You need to have the hashtag. You need to have all those letters, no spaces. Now, I think if you would like type a capital letter, I think it still claims you. But, you know, I would just better safe than sorry, type it in like it shows on screen.
I've not ever seen this tool before, so that's an awesome winner picker.
It's part of StreamYard. It's even part of like the free version. Yeah, it's like a website, and then you just share your screen. I love it because, oh my gosh, my sister and I used to do lives every month together, which we were supposed to start back, but it's kind of, we need to get back on it. But seriously, how we picked the winners was so difficult. This is so much easier. Just right there. Everybody sees it. All right. Ooh, we were up to 40 likes. 40 likes.
Excellent.
We got about a minute on that. I'm going to take a drink because I've been talking. I'm sure Lori is a little parched too. Oh, and now I forgot. Was it? If you are a winner tonight, I forgot to say, you'll want to make sure you know what username shows up on screen, because that is what you'll have to put in the form, which I will tell you about here in just a minute. But make sure, because sometimes, like, if you leave a comment, your username is something weird, like hashtag user 129A6J. But I want whatever shows up on screen here tonight. That way it's just easier to make sure that you claimed it. And we have about 10 seconds left to get those in. Let's see if it slows down. All right, guys. Here we go. And then I will tell you how to claim it. Congratulations, Shani, maybe? Shani?
That's awesome.
Love it. Great. So if you are one of our lucky winners, down almost at the very bottom of the description box is a link to a Google form. You will need to fill that out completely. Now, I know even for Lori's gift certificate, because again, I wasn't planning on it, it asked for your mailing address because, of course, I need that for the stamp set. That is a required part, but don't worry, I do not use this for anything else, but our first winner will still need to fill that out. But you'll fill it out, submit it, make sure you get the thing like your form has been submitted, and then I will get the information to Lori that she needs, and I will send out the stamp set to Shani. Hopefully, I'm not saying that incorrectly. So yes, don't forget to do that, 24 hours. And again, here, I was going to say something else. I keep losing my mind. I think that was it. All right. I don't know if I forgot anything. So, Lori, thank you so much for coming on tonight. This was a blast.
I loved it.
I wish every time I colored, you were right here with me to help me out. So in the chat, give like some high fives, some thumbs up for Lori. Give her big thank yous. And anything before we go?
Just thanks so much for having me. It was a great time. You guys had great questions. I loved it. And I mean, I wish we had 3 hours we could sit and maybe get this.
I agree. Well, guys, you know, as I always say, until the next time, I hope you're all having a crafty day. Bye-bye.